we're still doing like 22 emails back and forth to get a chef booking, all the menu selection, all the dietary restrictions, and then it goes to the concierge, and then it goes into the itinerary, and then it goes here. It's just so much information that has to be, arranged. End of 2019, beginning of 2020, January of 2020, I said, I'm gonna build a platform to really help make it easier. At that time, it was really just for private chefs, easier for private chefs to run their business and to connect with concierge and the hospitality industry at large.
Every once in a while on the show, I get to share news that I'm personally invested in. And this is one of those episodes. A few weeks ago, Journey acquired Epicurate, a private chef and experiences platform that has become one of the most beloved platforms in the luxury segment of the short-term rental world. If you operate in the high-end residence space, there's a chance you've already used Epicurate yourself, or you've stayed somewhere that does. The platform powers private dining, in-home wellness, gear rental, grocery delivery, and a growing list of curated services for some of the most respected vacation rental brands in the country, including AvantStay, Abode Luxury Rentals, and Red Cottage, just to name a few. The man behind it is Max Portacamzi, and his story is one of my favorite kinds, a would-be patent lawyer who walked away from mechanical engineering to go to culinary school. He went on to work at a storied Michelin star restaurant in New York, then designed and executed a 7-course tasting menu for a tasting room in Sonoma, then went on to cook private dinners and run concierge for vacation rental guests staying at some of the most coveted homes in wine country. And it was then that Max started noticing something the rest of us in the industry had been drowning in for years. Concierge is broken in vacation rentals. The relationships are there, the talent is certainly there, but the tooling underneath it all is a tangle of spreadsheets, email chains, and tribal knowledge that doesn't scale. So Max built the platform he wished he had added as a chef. And 6 years later, it's become the connective tissue between operators who want to deliver hotel-grade hospitality and the local providers who actually make that magic happen. In this conversation, we get into all of it. We talk about Max growing up on a farm in New Hampshire, to how COVID rocked the hospitality industry but accelerated Epicurate's growth, to what hotels can learn from the private external concierge model, and of course, why Journey acquired Epicurate. All right, friends, without further ado, get ready to meet Max. Max, welcome to Behind the Stays, man. It is an absolute honor to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we have so many exciting things to talk about. And I was going to say this until the end, but I can't help myself, Max. I just can't. One of the reasons, not the only reason, because I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. We've gone back and forth to try to get you on the pod for some time. So that is certainly not the only reason we're having this conversation today. But one of the reasons we're having the conversation today is because Journey has just acquired Epicurate, which is your business, your baby that you've grown for the last 6 years and have turned into an incredible experiences platform that some of the top residence providers in the space use and get utility from. We're going to talk all about your business and the story of the business and whatnot, but I just wanted to share that exciting news for our listeners who might be familiar with you and or Epicurate, hopefully are certainly familiar with Journey at this point, and they have even more to celebrate as being a Journey member, but then also as a prospective alliance partner of ours. So congratulations, Max. It is a total honor to have you as a part of our team.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here and the road ahead.
Well, I want to talk about all the things. I want to talk about you. I want to talk about how you got into the space. I want to talk about your love of hospitality more generally. But I thought it'd be fun to kick off our conversation, Max, by asking you if you remember the moment, maybe it was a series of moments, maybe it was a season when you realized that maybe you had an appreciation for food, for hospitality, for something that an experience that might have been a little bit different than how the average person would react to a meal or service. Do you remember, I guess, the moment you were bit by the hospitality bug, to put it one way?
I think it's actually one of those weird things where I didn't realize until afterwards that it had happened. I grew up in middle of nowhere, New Hampshire, on a farm, and as part of actually what I now look back and can say is one of the first CSA, actually the first CSA in America.
Wow.
So we got all kinds of incredible produce. I mean, there were no grocery stores, so we just went to the farm to get all of our food. And I loved making concoctions and mixing things, and so having all this great food and loving to just kind of, make things up meant that I've always just had access to and an opportunity to cook and enjoyed it.
Was there like a meal growing up that you loved to cook? Like, was there, or maybe a moment where you were like, "Hey, I know how to cook this thing really well," and where you started getting acknowledgement from others that you had, I don't know, passed a certain milestone?
I started, instead of doing like the juice stands, I actually did Max's Marvelous Barbecue Sauce. I started making barbecue sauce when I was like 6 years old. Uh,
Wow.
that was just kind of one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to just mix this up and sell it and see what happens. So it was pretty early age.
Did people like it? Was it good?
They did, I think. I did.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. So this past weekend, uh, I was making just, I don't know, a lazy meal. And I do the cooking in my house, Max, because I work remotely. My wife she has to go into the office every day. And so in theory, I have, more time since I'm home. So I usually, cook right at the end of the day before everyone gets back. But I was realizing I was out of barbecue sauce, and I was just gonna make a simple, pulled chicken, slow cooker thing, like a fast and easy meal. Well, I decided I'd involve my sons in the project because I needed to give my wife a break. And so, anyways, I whipped up a quick recipe from ChatGPT. I just asked it to help me make homemade barbecue sauce. Anyways, I did it and I thought it was decent. And my wife told me at the end after she'd eaten it, "Hey, where did you get that barbecue sauce from?" And I was like, "Oh, the boys and I made it." And she said, "Oh, well, that's why it was horrible." So anyways, I don't think I can trust ChatGPT to give me barbecue sauce recipes, but now I know the OG, Max Marvelous sauce, was it? Max Marvelous barbecue sauce?
Yeah.
I just go, "You got to hook me up, man. You got to give me the special recipe."
All right, we'll see what we can do.
um, well, when did you decide that you wanted to be a chef? It's one thing to grow up on a farm, unique, right? Different for sure. It's another thing to be like, oh, I like mixing things and selling barbecue sauce. It's yet another level to decide, this is what you want to do for your career. When did that moment happen for you?
Yeah, so I went to school originally actually for engineering. I was in school for mechanical engineering. I was going to go be a patent lawyer and got most of the way through that actually and realized that I did not like desk jobs. And so I kind of went on a find yourself trip, went to Europe, did the backpacking thing, and came back and realized that I love to cook. All that I'd ever done through college was build houses and cook in kitchens, and so I loved doing that. And at that time, actually, I had a friend who had gone to culinary school and just raved about it, and I was like, I think I want to go to culinary school. I wanted to be a Michelin guide writer, actually. I till this day think that that would be probably one of the best jobs out there. Travel around and eat the best restaurants. That the whole food writing world kind of went away just as I was entering culinary school in 2004, 2005. Disappeared into the blogosphere or whatever we want to call it. But yeah, it was after culinary school. After I went to college for engineering, I decided to try something different and go to culinary school.
Talk to me about how many engineers or would-be engineers you've met that also went to culinary school. Seems like it's 0.1%, huh? Or something crazy. What are the odds?
Not a huge percentage, but I can kind of pick them out pretty quickly when we meet because there's kind of a whole science behind. We get very nerdy into talking about the science behind cooking, and so it's a lot of fun when you get to meet them.
So you go to culinary school and you graduate. And was there, I guess one of my questions for all of my friends, I actually have had 3 or 4 friends go to culinary school. So all of my friends, I do have a few friends that went to culinary school. But my big question is you come out of culinary school with an idea of this is how I want to specialize. Is it cuisine based? Is it, for lack of a better term, level based? Okay, I'm going to do, not that I don't know that most people go to culinary school decide to go into fast casual restaurants afterwards, right? But who knows? Maybe some do. Maybe more on the entrepreneurship side of things, right? But when you graduate from culinary school, in general, like what is that next step? Like what are you looking for? Have you defined a specific lane for yourself? Or are you typically like eager to just get any job at that point?
I think that you have definitely defined. I mean, you have to do internships. You have to kind of focus during culinary school. I have always liked fine dining. I've always worked in fine dining, even during high school and college. And so I knew that that was the way. I went to New York. I worked at Le Bernardin for a while. Really loved the Michelin, world there. But to realize quickly that I did not like living in New York City. I love New York City, but lived in Long Island and commuting in, it just kind of wore on me. So I decided that I wanted to go do food and wine pairings. So I moved to California with the real, intent of finding ways to do food and wine pairings. So that was what I did. I went there and worked at a little food and wine shop in Sonoma, tasting room for, about the first 3 years.
During your time at this Michelin star restaurant, sorry, the name of it again was the Bernardin?
Le Bernardin.
Bernardin, thank you. So what's something my wife and I consider ourselves foodies. We probably pale in comparison to the people that you consider foodies, but we love to go to we live right outside DC. We love to go to like any new restaurant that's opened in the city. Right before our like claim to fame, which I feel like is totally unoriginal, is like finding the restaurant before it's gotten its first star, and there's this whole vibe in the DC foodie scene, at least, of like, did you go to Albee, which is one of the latest restaurants in the city, before it got the star or after it got the star? And so there's a fun culture around that. But my question for you, as someone who's actually worked in a Michelin star restaurant, is did anything surprise you about the experience? Like, were some things I'm sure a lot of things were less glamorous than maybe it appears on the outside, but like, what, if anything, about working in that kind of environment might surprise the casual listener, even those that might consider themselves foodies?
I think what I was surprised by was how many people were involved. How many people are in that kitchen and how many people are involved throughout the day. We had like 1.5 staff for every guest that was in the restaurant. And that was just during service. And then, a whole handful of people there prepping it beforehand. So the amount of time and effort that goes into making an experience like that is, I think, beyond what it even seems like. I mean, it seems so effortless once it's there. But the butter that came out to the table was probably one person spending all day just sculpting butter for the table. So.
It's amazing. You'd argue like it defies the laws of efficiency, right? As you would typically think, but maybe that's probably the point, right? So sorry, go ahead.
It is a large part of the point. Yeah.
It is a large part of the point. Yeah. I will never forget. My wife and I got married in Italy, and we did like our honeymoon on the Amalfi Coast, and we went to I think it had a couple of Michelin stars at one of the restaurants that we went to. And I will never forget, the server came over to me, and I had been to other Michelin star restaurants before, and I hadn't quite had this experience happen. The server came over to me, and we were in Italy, right? And so people spoke Italian. And so I thought I had misheard her when she offered me the water menu. And I was just pleasant. I was like, oh, like she clearly must have meant the wine menu. And I open it, right, and come to find I can spend 72 euros on water if I wanted to, right, in that moment, as opposed to the 68 euro water that was right above it on the menu. And I will never forget that moment, thinking like, I aspire to be somebody one day that can tell the difference between a $68 or 68 euro bottle of water and a 72 euro bottle of water. And the people that can, right? Who are these people, and how do I get to meet them? Because I'm just so intrigued by the presentation, the delivery. Feels like a total scam, by the way, but very, very intriguing nevertheless. I'll never forget that memory.
Look into Per Se got very famous for doing something like that, and then a whole bunch of food writers did a really interesting write-up on that. I won't go into.
Did they?
Now. Definitely worth looking into.
I will have to get to the bottom of this. So you work at this restaurant. you move to California, you decide, hey, I'm going to figure out how to, you want to work in wine, you want to do food and wine pairings. At what point in time do you begin to think about what would become Epicurate? Was this total burnout from the restaurant industry? Was this, hey, I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. Maybe there's a place for me to be a software engineer and marry my software engineering skills or would-be skills, right, with my love for hospitality. Take us back to like the moment where the idea first began to percolate.
Yeah, well, it was another decade after that. So I started just as I was getting, kind of looking for my next step after the food and wine tasting kind of program. I ended up meeting the owners of a local vacation rental company. And this was 2010. And they were like, hey, we've got these guests that come in and rent these houses. And they are always looking to have a chef come in because there's only so many restaurants and it's kind of a more remote area. And they've eaten at all these restaurants and they just want to have a chef come in and cook for them. Would you be interested in doing that? And I said, yeah, that sounds like fun. And so I went and I did it and I ended up, I loved it and I started just doing it more and more. And then there became more and more demand. It was Airbnb was just early, all the companies were really just early in the vacation rental world. And so I ended up building up a big team of private chefs. My now wife and I, we met at culinary school, moved out west together. We ended up building up a team of chefs together. And during that time, I also ended up working as operations and hospitality for the vacation rental company. And so I just, again, with my engineering background, I was the chef that would show up and like fix the water heater while it, instead of calling them and complaining about it, I would, fix this or that. And so I got roped into that, and then I got roped into kind of concierge. And I loved the whole thing. It was great in a small town, and just got to do incredible. I mean, Sonoma is a really special place, especially for hospitality and food and wine. And so, ended up doing that for 2011 through 2020, and working as both a concierge and as a private chef. I really got to see kind of both sides of the industry. And we actually worked with exclusive resorts when exclusive resorts wanted to start their first non-resort tied properties. They wanted their own independent properties. They came to us in Sonoma, and the vacation rental company I was working with, and piloted it there. And so I helped launch that program for them in Sonoma for 4 homes in Sonoma. And so I was running concierge for exclusive resorts while also working as a private chef, and just saw how hard it was to arrange all of that. I mean, we were doing I'm a systems-based person. And so for my private chef company, we had the best tech that we could find to make everything as streamlined as possible. But we were still doing 22 emails back and forth to get a chef booking completed or confirmed, because there's all the details, all the menu selection, all the dietary restrictions, and then it goes to the concierge, and then it goes into the itinerary, and then it goes here. It's just so much information that has to be arranged, and at the highest level, it has to really be clearly arranged and maintained. And so it was end of 2019, beginning of 2020, January of 2020. I said, I'm gonna build a platform to really help make it easier. At that time, it was really just for private chefs, easier for private chefs to run their business and to connect with concierge and the hospitality industry at large. And 6 years later, here we are.
I thought you were going to say, and then 2 months later, COVID hit and the entire business went under because no one was hiring chefs. Although, was that a huge boom for the business because people weren't going to restaurants, but they could get away with having private chefs still?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we were fortunately actually building through the whole thing. I mean, I had just, spent all this time and money in building the platform, and then COVID hit. And fortunately, actually, about the time that we've had our first, the platform ready to take its first bookings was right around the time that they started opening. And they actually did, California, Sonoma was very strict on the policies, but you could have groups of 6 outside, and vacation rentals were perfect for that. Right?
Yeah.
So, it became a very big business, very quickly at that time.
And so walk us through just the logistics here. So as as a chef, right? I would create my account on Epicurate. People could go and say, "Hey, I read reviews about Zach. I want to hire Zach for this particular purpose." It was a little bit more like ambiguous. Hire this kind of chef for this kind of experience. What was it from the supplier side of things, or the chef's perspective?
Yeah.
How did the process work? And then on the other side of things, from the guest perspective, what did the process look like in terms of how I would solicit services from somebody for a private meal?
Yeah, I watched a lot of private chef platforms through, the Kitchen Silver Spoon area, all the way up through some of the more modern platforms, and I had found that I didn't want to work with them, and most of the chefs out there really didn't enjoy working with them, largely because it's I'm going to get in trouble here, but it's kind of the Uber Eats or the Grubhub model, right? They just kind of interject themselves into the industry. They don't really provide anything. They just step in between you and the clients, and then make you work under their brand, and don't really offer anything back to the talent. And believe it or not, it's not actually the platform that shows up to cook for you. It's a person, and that person is the talent, and that person is the passion and the dedication that they've put into being confident enough to show up and put together a private dinner. That person needs to be well represented. And so I built Epicurate to really support the provider. So we built a whole platform. I said before, we had like 5 different systems and 22 emails back and forth. So we built a menu management, a payment platform, a scheduling platform, all of that into one place. So providers can sign up, a chef can sign up, sorry, and they can build out their menus, whether it's just a simple, chef's table here, we want to book a family style or a tasting menu, or if it's full menu build out, here's all of my different menu items and the dietary restrictions and all kind of that. They can manage all of that, and they can present it in a really beautiful, streamlined way. And they can do it for their own guests, and they can do it for concierges and all the people that they have relationships with. And so that was kind of the first core of it. From the guest side, it's funny, we actually have never really done any marketing. It's really building those relationships with the local concierges. There is much the way that the world is really focusing on finding the local vacation rental companies, because they know that they have, again, that same passion. If you support, in hospitality, I don't think it really matters what side of it is. If you're supporting that person's passion, then you're going to get a much better result. There are very few people, I don't think people get into hospitality often to get rich quick. They get into it because they love it, right? And so those people that really love it are the ones that you want to find, and they have the local knowledge. They have that. So when you've booked this home and you talk to the concierge, and the concierge says, "Oh, we've got this chef and this chef and this chef that we love," it's just a different game than finding them online or finding them on Instagram or anything like that. It's that trust, it's that relationship. So we really built through that. It's just showing up, providing the best services for our guests, having the guests go back to the concierge and say, "Thank you so much for referring them. We loved it," and building from there.
So you guys were clearly onto something, right? This predates Airbnb's launch of experiences, right? Now they obviously buy a lot, right? But so ahead of the game, realize that this is an offering, especially folks that are spending, sometimes $100,000 on a booking at a vacation rental, right? Depending on market and obviously size of home. So more affluent folks as well. And oftentimes some of these properties, right, are, as you pointed out, in locations where there might be a couple of restaurants, but they might be far away. So, it really has solved for this challenge that many of my friends, many of whom have been on the show, quite frankly, who've built really exceptional stays in, more or less remote areas, who are always trying to wrap their head around, like, how do I solve for F&B, right? I've got 6 units or 10 units, even like sometimes 20, 30, right? Units. I can't, the math doesn't math. I can't have a restaurant on site, but these folks are spending, $1,000 plus a night when they stay here, and we're 90 minutes outside of a city. People are coming here because they want to escape. They want something different. They also want something nice. How do I give them additional nice things, right? So this is the problem that has been has been a relevant problem for some time now. So you guys get ahead of the game. Obviously, Airbnb is a smart, sophisticated company. Brian Chesky, I think, is one of the best entrepreneurs in the world. Sees that this is going to become a thing. They integrate experiences into their platform. They push. I think all the reporting suggests thus far that it's, quite frankly, minimal amounts of contributed revenue at this point in time. Maybe that changes over time, but like right now, it's kind of been a big splash on his front or on their front. What you guys are doing though is an inherently different experience in that you're providing that concierge service on behalf of your partners as well. Is that correct? So like I go and I book a property at one of these vacation rental management companies. I book a stay there. After I've booked the stay, I get invited to build an itinerary, explore potential private dining experiences. You guys have other providers now as well. You've got, I think, massage therapists that you can book private massages on, other sort of wellness opportunities that you guys enable folks to book. So the experiences are certainly beyond private meals now. But I guess the question that I'm getting at is the gap that you guys have been able to solve for, maybe why you've been successful, is because you've layered on this additional concierge service that a platform like Airbnb does not have. I guess help me understand how you think about the strategic opportunity that Epicurate has to be different than something that just gets kind of gobbled up and or standardized via a platform like Airbnb.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I was talking to the founder of the vacation rental company, Beautiful Places in Sonoma, and it was one of our early conversations, and she said, Max, you have to make sure that we can offer our curated collection, right? We're not going to just go offer all this. Like anybody can go to Yelp or Google or whatever. I don't want to say those words on this podcast, but it can go to any of those places and just find, whatever services. Like these aren't, Private Chef is not a revolutionary service, but finding the right one is. And so one of our core principles is that each of the partners that we work with, each of the travel companies that we work with, they get to and are encouraged to pick the providers that they recommend, the chefs that they trust, the massage therapists that they trust, and the baby gear that they trust, the babysitters that they trust, all of the different people that they trust to represent their brand, because when they're making this recommendation, it's representing their brand. And so Epicurate enables each of the vacation rental companies to curate their own collection and represent that collection in a co-branded way. And that's really the difference. You're never just getting, oh, here is everything, everybody that we could possibly find, or here's most of the other platforms. It's like, here's a mailing list, right? So you say, oh, I want a private chef, and they just send out an email to a huge mailing list. Hey, who wants to be a chef for a weekend? Right?
Yeah.
Like, we have developed these relationships, and these local companies have developed these relationships, and we inherit the relationship and build and maintain that relationship so that when the vacation rental company wants to go out and say, they used to send out, or a lot of them still do, send out an email, hey, congratulations on booking this incredible home. Here's our favorite restaurants. Here's our favorite grocery stores. Here's our favorite private chefs. Here's our favorite massage therapist. Here's our favorite gear rental, right? And it's a link and a phone number. And that's one way to do it. But if you want to be in a modern world, it's here is our Epicurate link that shows and gives you access to directly book our favorite chefs, our favorite massage. And these are people that we trust and we know. And we go from there.
As opposed to the, chefs near me, or I've experimented with a few of these platforms before too. And it's especially on the Airbnb stuff, if you go and you book a stay and you look at experiences, it's really hard to understand, right? And their experience product, I think, is still relatively immature. So it's hard to understand. Like people might only have a couple of ratings. It's really like impossible to understand, even if the host of the property, right, is vetting this person and in any way, shape, or form. And the vast majority of the time, they're not, right? Like they have no connection to that provider. So I think the business model is remarkable. Where my mind went to is a lot of the folks that listen to this podcast are very, very serious about their brands, right? They've built branded collections of remarkable homes, branded collections of hotels that they're very proud of. And what I imagine
happens and can happen is through this partnership with Epicurate. If I'm, I'll pick on some friends, Ruben and Sean from AvantStay. If I'm AvantStay, for instance, right, I imagine I also have the flexibility to basically build some custom menus that are AvantStay specific or branded, or maybe there's an AvantStay touch at the end of every private chef meal, just to kind of reinforce to the guest that this isn't just a great private chef experience, but every private chef experience that's booked via Epicurate for an AvantStay property ends with, I don't know, some special branded chocolate mousse or something ridiculous like that. Like there are these, I imagine there are these opportunities, right, to get really creative about making it feel like, as closely as I can, that this is an AvantStay restaurant, right, or an AvantStay experience, which I bet your suppliers, your partners love, and I bet also makes these magical moments, right, for the guest, so that you feel as close as you might feel to dining at the restaurant at the hotel.
Well, we've worked with AvantStay since 2021, and you don't have to be. They've got some incredible tools, and they've got an incredible concierge team, and we certainly do that. But we provide that same brand recognition. I mean, this is what I was trying to allude to before. Is like it's really about all of our portals are co-branded, so you're always showing the local vacation rentals brand there. You have to be representing that, because that's what the guests know and trust, and that's the brand that you want to keep rebuilding. As much as the chef wants you to know the chef's name, the vacation rental company wants you to know their name, and with that, everybody's name really clearly there. Everybody has that much more reason to put their heart and soul into delivery.
You guys have specialized, obviously, in vacation rentals to date, right? I'm curious just to, I don't know, hear you brainstorm a little bit. Like, I would imagine, and this is actually grounded in very real reality, as I get these questions from folks often who are running boutique hotels, right? Running independent hotels who, might be lower key count, but even some folks that are higher key count properties, right? They might not have like an on-site restaurant. Maybe they do have an on-site restaurant, but it's, they don't own the restaurant at all. And so from a business perspective, it's great, but it's, only so great. I'm curious to hear your observation on how does Epicurate, how do the experiences that you've curated, the providers that you work with, how do you see this working? Can it work in a hotel context? And if so, how do you imagine it might?
I think that there are a lot of opportunities. I think that we've been focusing on a handful of different categories that really work for the different types of hotels. We've been working closely with a lot of the wellness providers. Massage. A lot of places don't have a spa, or the spa is just not profitable. So being able to bring in spa and wellness services, gear rental, grocery delivery, all kinds of other things that you would want for a hotel. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the big unlocks coming here is being able to offer those kind of services into the boutique hotels, because guests still want them, and we make it easy.
I was talking to a friend the other day we were talking about kind of workout routines and how some of the hotels, right, can invest, some of them anyways, loads and loads into their gym, obviously their wellness centers. I mean, the amount of money being poured into spas and wellness related services is massive right now. It's certainly having a moment, but even the core basic gym, right? You've got, depending on the property, incredibly nice gear there, but it's, you don't have a personal trainer, right? And trying to find a personal trainer, even to just come meet you for an hour to help guide you through your workout, it's like a little luxury that you might want on a vacation. So he was talking to several friends of his who are hoteliers themselves, and basically nobody had a go-to recommendation for a trainer to show up at 6 a.m. at the hotel gym, right? And just, I don't know, customize a little workout for you. And when he was telling me this, of course, I immediately thought of Epicurate, and I was like, oh, they're probably doing things like this already, and or if not, they should be. But there do seem to be all these unlocks of even if F&B isn't the solution, because it might be hard to do a private dining experience in a hotel room, right? But there are all these other ways, right, and all these other creative opportunities of just things that, quite frankly, the hotel just doesn't have the resources to service, and or maybe they do have 3 people that they recommend. But if you got a 125 key hotel, who's to say there aren't more than 3 people in any given night, right, or any given day that might want those trainers, right, for whatever the purpose be. So I think that there's, to your point, there's loads of opportunity for hotels to use these experiences. I want to hear just a little bit, Max, about what has the feedback been from your providers? Because you've got a marketplace business, right? In order for it to work, you've got to have supply, and demand. I'm specifically interested in like the relationship between the chefs and your other providers, right? What do they think about the platform? Like, how has it meaningfully solved, I guess, the challenge that they might have faced, or might traditionally have faced from platforms like Epicurate or akin to it they might have experimented with before? Or maybe a better, more pointed question is, if I'm a provider, what's the difference between listing myself on Airbnb experiences versus Epicurate, and why might I like one over the other?
Where do I start? I've built this platform to be a provider-centric platform. It is really here to help our providers run and grow their businesses. We want to give them all the tools to build repeat clients. There is not another platform out there that I know of that wants to help you actually turn these guests into repeat guests. We want you to do that because we want them to be repeat guests, and they want to find somebody that they can trust. So we want to give you all the tools to really come in and run your business, to be able to put your menus there, to be able to put, to know your client and build a menu and a personalized experience in a really streamlined way that you can then go off and repeat and repeat and repeat. So I think that we've really focused on providing, both a community and a platform that enable the providers to really grow, really thrive and grow.
Do you, I guess, as you think about this next phase of the business, right? Journey has come, we've acquired Epicurate. There's so much synergy, as I think we all see, right? Of the ability for Journey members to book Epicurate experiences, the ability, coming soon to a theater near you for Journey members to be able to use points, right, and cash to to redeem for experiences. There's so much synergy here, which is why we're here having this conversation and making this announcement. But as you think about the future of experiences more generally, as you think about the future of Epicurate, what are you excited about? What are you hopeful for? Like, where do you think this goes over the next couple of years in Max's like perfect world?
I think that we're going to build high tech for high touch hospitality. Hospitality has to be, it's a personal touch, right? It's something that AI can't replace. It can help streamline the operations of, but it cannot replace that, personal touch. And so, our opportunity is to really address the industry and continue to work with it to know what tools it needs, to know what, opportunities it's looking for, to be able to use tech to streamline the operations, to give just that next level, to just keep leveling up your hospitality.
I think too, one of the things we didn't spend time talking about is sort of the revenue model for your partners, which I think is really interesting. Do you want to just share that briefly about why do vacation rental management companies want to sign up for Epicurate? Yes, of course, everyone wants their guests to have a wonderful experience. That might not move the needle for all in terms of wanting to sign up. Maybe some, the purists, but help us understand sort of like the business model, because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, concierge has always been cost center for vacation rentals, because you have to have somebody there that can not only develop and maintain these relationships and make the connections and then manage these bookings, but they never really make, it's hard to collect revenue on that. If there's commissions or anything like that, it's really, even if there is a sound commission structure around it, you spend more time chasing it all down. Okay, did this person book, and what do we owe on this and all that? And by the time you end up, auditing that whole trail, you spent more money on auditing it than you actually earned. And so what we've built is a way to be able to offer these services and earn a commission on every booking. So not only do you get to elevate your guest experience by offering these incredible experiences that make the home a true stay. But you get revenue on each one, and you get all the guest insights. You get to see, oh, this guest, the last time they were here, they booked a chef. We're going to recommend a chef again. Or, they booked this baby gear. They wanted a pack and play, and, know the baby's still young enough. They're back this time. We're going to put another pack and play there. And you can do all of that and earn revenue on the whole thing. So yeah, it's kind of a nice combination.
It's sort of like a no-brainer. I like when I heard the model, I was like, wow, yeah, like sign me up, man. And I think what's so true about folks that listen to this podcast, I feel like the community around it, just where vacation rentals, as we like to call them at Journey, where residences, right, are headed, is folks who really do want to provide this 5-star hospitality experience that you might get in a hotel. But it's very, very, very hard to do that without obviously the amenities that a traditional hotel might provide. And what I love about this, what I love about your business, what I love about the offering is it moves us way closer to that reality, right? And it's funny. I've talked to a few friends recently who just talking about their businesses and things that are challenging and hard, et cetera. And I truly believe, like, I've now talked to them, between offline about, hey, well, Journey's acquired Epicurate. You got to go sign up for Epicurate because it's solving some of these problems. But what I think is so special about this is folks have wanted, the best operators in the world want to deliver exceptional hospitality, especially in the luxury segment. And you've unlocked, right? You and the team have unlocked the ability, really the toolkit for how to do that in a way that just is kind of like an automatic yes for the business, right? At least an automatic yes to try it out, right? Maybe your guests don't care about it, and that's a separate problem. But it just feels like you're empowering folks with a toolkit that they haven't historically had access to, that economically benefits the provider and the operator. And from a management company's perspective, probably additional revenue that they don't have to share with the owner. I don't know how that will all shake out, but for folks who might not be aware, obviously those margins can be really thin depending on the operator, depending on the manager. So this helps offset, right, maybe the cost of managing a particular property when maybe your margin is thin on this, $10 million mansion that someone's staying in. But with Epicurate, that the average guest could come and book a $50K, itinerary, and you get to pocket, a substantial amount of that. And so it just makes the economics a little bit more interesting for folks to even think through the kinds of homes that they go out and acquire for their collection. So all of this, Max. I'm not sharing any new insight with you, but I guess I am remarking, I'm going off here for our listeners' sake, because I think that this unlocks a really different perspective on how we can think about growing our respective businesses, whether you're a vacation rental manager, whether you're a hotel operator that wants to scale. This just feels like, I don't know, like a superhero kit or toolkit that's been hiding in the background, but is about to be unlocked and hopefully more available, more readily available to more providers.
Yeah, I think we're in a really unique opportunity to be able to offer that and to be able to do this for the industry. And we've seen such incredible opportunity that we really do it. There's no setup cost. There's no, contract. There's no other costs around it. It's a shared opportunity. We know that we feel very confident that we've brought a lot of value to the ecosystem, and that we can really just make everybody, make it beneficial for everybody.
One of the things too that I get excited about, you talked about guest insights. You marry this with Journey's guest insight tooling, and you can just imagine the world in which an operator gets a text eventually, a beautiful email that summarizes the fact that Zach's coming back. Last time, this is what he ate. Since then, this is how his dietary preferences may have shifted. All the incredible insights. And I think what it also does is it provides the operator the opportunity to deliver some hospitality, even maybe for free. So maybe historically, right, I went and had the baby gear booked through Epicurate or a provider there. Maybe this time I'm still going to book through Epicurate, but I'm gonna cover the cost for my guests to surprise them that the bassinet or the gear is already going to be in the property. So it also just, I think, equips, right, the vacation rental manager with more ability to surprise and delight guests, if in fact that makes sense for the business, and if in fact that's something that they want to do. Absolutely,
yeah. I think there's all kinds of things we can do.
Well, Max, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your story with us. Thank you for entrusting Epicurate to Journey. We are incredibly excited to collaborate to eventually integrate our businesses more closely. For listeners who want to learn more about Epicurate and or who want to learn more about what we're doing at Journey with respect to Epicurate, there'll be links in the comments below. You can send us, Max or myself, a message on LinkedIn. You can email us directly, and we'd love to chat with you about what this means for Journey Alliance partners, then also what it means just for folks who might be new to Epicurate, even if you're not a part of the Journey Alliance. Max, thank you, sir, for the time, and keep building. I'm excited.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Hey friends, thanks for joining us for this episode of Behind the Stays. I'd love to know what you thought of the episode. Feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram at Behind the Stays or send me an email at zach@journey.com. If this is your first time tuning in, it's a pleasure to have you and we hope to have you back again soon. But if you've been a listener for a while, I'd greatly appreciate if you'd subscribe to the show if you aren't already, and then leave us a rating and review of the show wherever you're streaming this podcast. Oh, and if you know a hotelier or a hospitality entrepreneur that's building something new and novel, I invite you to introduce them to me so that my team and I can discuss bringing them on the show. Again, you can just shoot me an email at zach@journey.com or a DM on Instagram. Behind the Scenes is brought to you by Journey, a next-generation loyalty program built for the modern traveler. We're looking to onboard new boutique hotels, unique stays, and the top vacation rental management companies onto our platform every day. If you're a hospitality entrepreneur who has a stay or a collection of stays with soul, we'd love for you to apply to join our alliance at journey.com/alliance. Again, that's journey.com/alliance. Thanks for being here, y'all. We will see you next time.